Hello, this is Annette with Project Refine Life. Welcome to my channel and another wonderful monsoon type day. So be prepared because you could hear rain, you could hear thunder, and you could see the lighting in here change drastically. So just a little warning here. But my main thing is that I'm here to share with you this deck. It's called an Ayurvedic Path, and it is by Erica Karin and Tatiana Vitrice. It is a 65 card deck and guidebook. It comes packaged in this really nice quality box. There are no holes for your fingers, what I refer to as notch holes. There are no notch holes within this box, so if it's loaded with the contents, then you're fine. But if you automatically close it, or if you close it accidentally when you're using your cards, it is a little difficult to get this box off of the bottom. It comes with this guidebook, and the guidebook just really simply gets into the contents of the deck, of the cards included, and then it goes into acknowledgements, purpose, an introduction to Ayurveda, how to use the cards, setting intentions, pulling the cards, reflect, share, remember, and then it gets into a description of the cards. Now the 65 cards are comprised as follows. There's 12 cards for each element, plus the elemental cards as well. So for the elements, we have earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So that makes up the total of 65 cards. So before you head into the earth cards, you have a little breakdown here of the earth element. And then each card is described in about a page-and-a-half description with a black and white picture of the card. And at the end of a description of the card, it gets into whatever practice you're going to use for that specific card. So meditation, some of them have guidance, some of them have recommended care, some of them have prompts, others have a bonus, and yet others have more of an example of whatever it is explaining, a playful practice. They're all a little bit different, but very, very well done. So let me go ahead and show you what's inside the box. So here we have the back of the cards, and it is packaged in this container here. And I do like this because it is not open at the end. See the box here? It's not open, so the cards cannot slide through. So your cards are going to be protected in this box. The only thing is that, you see this? The card gets stuck. The very last card gets stuck in the box. I don't know if I want to deal with that or not. They are well protected. I just don't want to have to do that each and every time. So I'll see whether or not I order a bag or some type of other container for this deck to keep it in. So I've arranged the cards with the elemental cards on top of each of the 12 sections of the deck so that we can go through it. Before we get into reviewing each of the cards, I'm going to give you a brief description of what Ayurveda is, and then later on we'll get into a little bit deeper discussion. So Ayurveda is the Sanskrit word that means science of life. And Ayurveda is a holistic health practice of the body, mind, and consciousness. Ayurveda uses a personalized constitution or dosha of each and every person that regulates your diet, your lifestyle, and movement through yoga, as it is the sister science to yoga. So that's a very brief description of it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and have you look at each and every card, and I guess I'll just kind of briefly describe them. So here we have the earth element. And the earth element in this deck is related to the physical self-care and physical grounding. It's really lifestyle rituals that you would do every single day, ideally. But it is the physical ritual practice that you do daily. Okay, so next we have the water element. And the water element is full of journaling exercises, and as with any water element, it is really focused on the emotions and emotional awareness within this element and how you work with your emotional awareness. And as you can see, these pictures are just, or not pictures, but the art is just absolutely beautiful. Okay, now we're moving into the fire element. And within this deck, the fire element is all about digestion and also your relationship with food and the food that you take in, how you eat your food, where you can find gratitude within ingesting your fuel and your food, and what the source of food is really all about when taking it into the body. So now next we are in the element of air. And the air element within this deck is all about creation and movement, and not just movement, but also playful movement, and dealing with the inner child, dealing with the creation and being creative through movement, through sensory. I love this card so much, and we'll get into a few of the cards in just a little bit. Now the final element is ether, and the ether cards here are all about your sensory experiences, being present and being aware. So no matter where you're at, like if you're on a stroll, taking note of what you are experiencing on the stroll, taking into consideration color and how it affects you. Also, like this, digital detox, really removing yourself from all of those other sensory overload type experiences that we have around us all the time as I'm speaking to you on YouTube. So those are the 65 cards. Now I went through that rather quickly, and so if you need to slow it down and, silence my voice so you can look at the art a little bit better, go right ahead. Let me go ahead and just get into a little bit more of the idea of Ayurvedic medicine and healing and why I like this deck so much. If you have ever looked for a self-care deck, this is the best self-care deck that I have ever encountered. I can really utilize this on a Sunday afternoon for my self-care pull, where I have tarot cards and I'm pulling oracle cards and looking for some awareness during the week. I can utilize these cards in that respect. So for that reason, I really, really like this deck. It is really, really cool. So now Ayurvedic medicine relates to the idea that everything in this world is comprised of the 5 elements, and each person is a combination of these elements. So in essence, the individual makes up or is made up of all of these elements, and that is a description of who this person is based on the physical, the mental, and the psychological self, which is known as the doshas. And there are 3 doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So usually everybody has one dosha that is a little bit more prevalent. And so the idea behind Ayurvedic medicine or healing is that you tune in to like this individual little thumbprint or fingerprint type of situation where the medicine stands out and really deals with that specific person individually, not as a whole and not as a means of correcting something that's already wrong, but preventing something from going wrong. So that's how you work with Ayurveda. So let me just go ahead and share a couple of things. Now, this may sound complicated, but I guarantee you that you can keep it as simple as you like. So I have a couple of books here. If you want to dig deeper into Ayurveda, this is a book that I highly recommend by Dr. Ladd, and he does have another book here called The Complete Book of Ayurvedic Home Remedies, also by Dr. Ladd. I really like his books. So let me just turn to this page here, because you may be saying, what do the 5 elements have to do with these so-called doshas, right? So the 5 elements create these 3 doshas. So water and earth create kapha, fire and water create pitta, and then air and ether create vata. And there are many tests that you can do to see what dosha you are comprised of. So what is your constitution? And based on that is how you feed your body, how you fuel your body, what kind of asana is best for you. Yoga poses are best for you, like what to stay away from. If you're dealing with cold or hot elements of food, and what to eat and what to do if something is in disarray within the body, like how to fix it, what do I eat, what crystals do I work with. It really does get a little bit detailed, but like I said, you can keep it very simple. So now that's taking it to the extreme on an Ayurvedic path for healing and for self-care. But you can use this deck, and the way that I see myself using this deck is to pull 1 to 3 cards at the beginning of the week, and maybe to begin with, maybe just 1, to focus on one principle throughout the week that really tunes me into healing self-care. I'm not talking just a bubble bath. I am talking about what do I do to bring my body into balance and to bring my consciousness into more awareness. So you can do it just like that, but also because of these key words on the deck right here, shed the old. I've used it also as an oracle deck. So I've pulled this as my main source of where to focus my energy, not so much through the guidebook sense, but just at an oracle standpoint. So if I see shed the old, what do I need to release? What do I need to work on? What do I need to focus on? Lavish love, toxic tongue cleanup. Now this right here is a practice of using a tongue scraper. And so here, if I'm working with it for the week and I'm working with it in the respect of using it in the Ayurvedic sense, then I would focus on using my tongue scraper that week. And so I'm gonna go ahead and share with you just a quick view of the tongue scraper. I'm not going to read it all, but just sharing with you instead how it tells you how to work with that. So it says, ever notice a layer of coating on your tongue? In Ayurveda, it is known as ama, which are the toxins that arise and release through your tongue. And it goes into how it affects you and also your improper digestion and unhealthy consumption, and that it can be an indicator of something deeper within the body. And then it tells you how to use the tongue scraper. So if you want to use it from just a standpoint of self-care, that's where you tune more into the book. But for me, using it in an oracle sense, I would say toxic tongue cleanup. What have I said throughout this week? Or what did I say yesterday? Or how am I using my words? Am I being a little bit too rough with my words? Can I clean it up, refresh and restore? What can I do that's really going to enliven or bring me into a higher state of being? I mean, there is all kinds of ways that you can just tap into these keywords and really focus in more on an oracle sense. So just tapping into it. I don't think that you need a whole guidebook to tap into like this, turn within. That's almost like that hermit moment where you're really taking some time. Water, maybe you have to be with more within your ebb and flow. How can you conscious consumption? Now there's all kinds of talk on about, you know, consumerism and this and that and the other. So maybe taking it in that respect, if you're using it as an oracle deck guided by elimination, what can you release? Again, what can you get rid of in order to feel lighter or brighter? Rewards of gratitude. How can you be more grateful today? There is all kinds of things that you can do. Lunar tides. Why don't you tune in today into the energy of the moon or the phase of the moon and use that energy to propel you today? Can you take some time to, you know, focus in on that energy? There is all kinds of things that you can do with this deck, and I just think it's kind of like two gifts in one here, because I can use it for a self-care, a true self-care type of deck, and then I can use it as an oracle. So now, just very briefly, I'm going to share with you the deck that I'm using it with. And this to me was just like, oh, well, I have to use it with this deck. I mean, come on. It is the lovely Om Tarot. And this deck is just lovely. I know I've talked about this deck several times on my channel here, but not only are the art styles very similar in a sense, but the subject matter of both, I mean, they're just like hand in hand. But I loved working with these two together and using this as an oracle, not as a self-care, but an oracle, just to see if it would work, if it would jive. And you know what, guys? It worked really, really well. I really enjoyed working with these two together. I think so far, these two may be one of my favorite pairings as well. I mean, it's alive. It's just wonderful together. Renew your outlook, just so that you know, that's about cleansing your eye or clearing your eye or rinsing your eye in an Ayurvedic path or in an Ayurvedic sense. But, you know, renew your outlook. Like, how can you see more clearly? What are you not looking at when you're using it from an oracle perspective, right? There are all kinds of ways that you can interpret this, and you can change that meaning just about every day if you want to. You don't have to be tied to what a guidebook tells you to do. So for that reason, guys, I really, really like this deck. I really, really am so impressed by it. And I know that this deck was published in 2019, and then I guess it was released in 2020. I'm not quite sure. I really can't find that much on this deck. But if you are looking for a self-care deck, I am here to tell you that this deck it's amazing. It really is. So I'm trying very hard not to put this deck out of order, because I have recorded this video, like I said, or did I say? I recorded this video twice already. And once I had a problem with the audio from the beginning, and the second time the audio cut out halfway through. So I am trying real hard to keep this deck in order, just in case I have to do it again. So as far as the shuffling is concerned, the shuffling is amazing. It shuffles so beautifully. It even makes me look like I know how to shuffle. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me and taking a look at this deck. Thank you so much for being present and for taking a look at this. I wish you a day filled with love, joy, and happiness from my heart to yours. Take care, and I will see you later.